Welcome to another episode of You Ask, I Answer. Suzanne asks today, how does Facebook's effort to control fake news affect non-news but brand pages? Okay, so short version, brand pages, if they weren't already at zero organic reach, are headed that way rapidly for all but the most popular content providers. What Facebook did in its most recent algorithm is heavily favor individuals, groups, and anything involving engagement and conversation. So their premise on engagement is that if something is just easily shared, but there's no conversation, no interaction between users, then it's not as important. This is as of January 11th of this year. So what impact does this have? Well, if you look at your average brand page's Facebook posts, they don't get a ton of interaction. They don't get a ton of conversation. I've seen plenty of pages where there isn't any conversation, and it's just a couple of employees randomly hitting the like button. So in the new algorithm, which is so heavily engagement focused, these pages are going to take a pretty heavy hit. You're going to see performance decline. And of course, the solution that Facebook offers is get out the credit card and start spending money on ads. There are a couple other ways around this. Number one, obviously create content that is conversation worthy without obviously breaching etiquette or creating offensive things or stuff like that, because that's obviously doesn't help anybody. The other way is through employee advocacy. So in the most recent algorithm change, what has happened is that Facebook in general is favoring the individual person rather than the corporation or the brand. And so if you have employees and your employees are representative of your customers, meaning they are connected to people who will like your customers, employee advocacy will work. And this is software or just a program or a strategy where you ask employees to share, to engage, to communicate, to participate with your corporate social brand pages. Now, there are a whole bunch of caveats with employee advocacy. One, you need to have employees, right? You need to have more than just you. Two, your employees need to have reach or access into the customer base. So a real simple example, if all of your employees are baby boomers, but your customers are ideally millennials, you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to have an audience that is in sync with who your employee base is. So that's a major consideration. And it doesn't just have to be demographics. It can be behavioral, too. If all of your employees love Pink Floyd, but all of your audience likes Justin Bieber, again, you're going to have a bad time. So, argue which band is better. But the point remains, there's that skew. The third approach, and the approach that I personally like more, is diversification. So, Facebook is not social media. It is a social network, but it is not the only one out there. There is Twitter. There is Pinterest. There is Instagram, which is still a Facebook property. There are a whole bunch of secondary networks. I mean, there's technically Ello. I think it's still around there. There's LinkedIn, which is my personal favorite for B2B because it tends to be more professionally focused folks. There is YouTube. YouTube, which is where this video gets posted, is a gigantic social network. It just happens to be a social network focused around video. It is also the second largest search engine on the planet. There is Spotify and Apple Music and all of these entertainment networks that have, guess what? Conversations, interaction, stuff like that. So it's less a question of, what's our Facebook strategy and what's our overall social channel strategy? Where is our audience? Where do they want to participate? What do they like? There are private social networks. Anyone who's ever used Slack has been in a private social network because Slack is very much that private discussion forum. There are old school bulletin boards and things that are still out there too, and all of these things are great places for you to have interactions with your audience depending on where your audience is. Technically, email is the oldest social network, right? Because, and it's still the most decentralized. Yeah, we all get a lot of spam and stuff, and I certainly contribute my amount of stuff to your inbox, but it is still a way for people to communicate to other people. So in that aspect, it can be a social network, especially since it can be one-to-many. So where's your audience? Where do they want to hear from you? And are the places where they hang out immune to the Facebook effect or reducing the Facebook effect? There are tons of private discussion groups. WhatsApp has them, again, a Facebook property. WeChat, Kik, Line, Tango, Viber, all these different companies have all these different chat apps. Facebook Messenger, iMessages. People have individual communities. So the way you ultimately get around Facebook's algorithm, one, create content people like and that they want to share and distribute on your behalf. Two, focus on more than just Facebook. And three, if you gotta be on Facebook because you're convinced that's where your audience is, spend the money on the ads. Right now, the ads are still relatively affordable. They will not stay that way. As companies find more and more their organic reach is going to zero, they're looking for any option to activate that huge Facebook following they spent years and dollars building, and that Facebook stuff the pricing will go up. So that's the answer. How does Facebook's fake news initiatives, which are really just newsfeed initiatives, affect non-news brand pages? Brand pages, getting the baseball bat to the knee. Thanks, Suzanne, for submitting a question to You Ask, I'll Answer, and I will talk to you all next time. If you've got a question, by the way, submit it at the URL in the show description here on LinkedIn and on YouTube, and I will gladly answer your questions. Doesn't matter what kind, how complex, how simple, happy to answer them. Talk to you soon. Take care.